Right, so today we're going to be talking about a situation where an author is receiving a bunch of backlash. More specifically because of a currently unfulfilled Kickstarter that has raised over $95,000. And now because of that, there are a bunch more claims that we're going to go through in today's video. Now let's add some context to this first of all. So the person you'd be aware of is Britt Andrews, who's an author. I mean, if we look at her books on Amazon, she is clearly very successful. And in fact, her books that she has released, people clearly love them. I mean, we can see some books here with 7.9k reviews, 10.8k reviews. These both have 4.5 stars. This book in particular, Demons in My Bed, is the prequel to the book that Britt Andrews has started a Kickstarter for. As you can see, people clearly love this one. It's got 4.5 stars, 3.2k reviews. And I even looked at some review videos on TikTok of when Demons in My Bed came out, and people clearly loved it, right? It was a good book from the opinions of most people, which I guess makes more sense as to why this new Kickstarter for the sequel to that book has been backed so heavily. I mean, here's the Kickstarter, Demons of Port Black. This was started in August of 2023. That's when this Kickstarter launched, and the book still isn't out. And like I mentioned earlier, this Kickstarter has been backed very heavily. I mean, it's got $95,747 raised from 768 backers. And I mean, looking at them numbers, some people probably pledged quite a bit of money. I mean, if we just said F1 pledged the same amount, it's about $120-ish. Obviously, not F1 pledged $120. There were some cheaper options. So some people have pledged a good chunk of money here. Now, here's the big problem with Kickstarter. It's not necessarily a store, right? You are investing into projects. And with the way Kickstarter works, from what I can see here, it is not very supportive of the backers. I mean, if you go to pledge and back a project, you will be met with this screen right here that says, rewards aren't guaranteed. You are supporting an ambitious creative project that has yet to be developed. It is important to consider that despite the creator's efforts, there's a risk that your reward may not be fulfilled. We urge you to consider this risk prior to pledging. Kickstarter is not responsible for reward fulfillment or refunds. And I mean, as I say right there, they are avoiding all responsibility whenever you back some of these projects. And like I said before, it's not supposed to be a store. You're supposed to just invest into these projects. The product will then release publicly in most cases. And then because you back the project, you would usually receive the product for sometimes a bit cheaper than the actual retail price. The problem with this project in particular is that it has kind of been used as a store. I mean, if we read the description here, it says, in April 2022, Demons in My Head released on Amazon. Since then, over 50,000 copies have been devoured by readers. The wait for the second and final book in the duet has been a long time coming. To celebrate the end of Palmer and the exile story, I wanted to offer something exciting, especially for all of those 50,000 readers who have been so patient with me as I finish writing the second book. I'm convinced my fans are the absolute greatest, and I'm incredibly lucky to have each and every one of them in my corner. I've never offered any of my work in hardback, so this really is an exciting campaign. These exclusive editions are going to be absolutely beautiful with their exclusive chapter headings and beautiful interior formatting. Each book will be numbered and signed by me. Not only that, the signed and numbered pages will be stamped with a seal that will have an exclusive design, only available during this campaign. This Kickstarter will be the one and only place to get your hands on this cover. We're doing one print run and that's it. Gone forever. So let's make it worth it. As with everything else in my career, I can't do this without you. Now, this description is important for a few reasons. I mean, we've seen here, this is a Kickstarter exclusive. This is the only place that you were able to buy these hardback books. So in that sense, this has kind of became a store, right? Like I said, it's the only place you can purchase this. Now, the main problem out of this description specifically is the fact that it's not really true, because now there is another way that you can purchase these hardback books from Britt Andrews that doesn't involve Kickstarter. So for the people who backed the project thinking they were getting a Kickstarter exclusive, that didn't happen in the end. And even though you are no longer able to pledge and back this Kickstarter, you can still purchase the hardback books. We'll get to all of that later. So let's actually talk about where I first heard about this situation. It was from a video by a creator called Randy Nicole Reeds, who uploaded a video talking about this Kickstarter.
What do you mean an indie author has had $95,000 worth of readers' money locked up in a Kickstarter from August of 2023? What do you mean the book still has not been written?
Randy then goes into more detail, saying that, again, no one's received the books, no one's able to receive refunds. Apparently, allegedly, people also aren't receiving other orders.
No one has received anything. No one has received refunds, even though said refunds have been requested for months. $95,000. 95. People also haven't even received regular orders from her website in like 2 years.
And then ends the video talking about some of the comments that were left on the Kickstarter, and I've seen these myself. We will go through some of them in just a second, but some backers have claimed that they've actually tried filing disputes with their banks, and they've been fought by Britt, I guess.
I forgot to mention too that some readers have actually filed disputes with their banks, and she's even fought the disputes.
Now, even though I recently came across a situation and these videos have recently been coming out kind of talking about this, the people who've actually been backing the Kickstarter have been voicing their concerns for quite some time. I mean, I found this post on Threads, and this is from, August of 2024, so quite a few months ago at this point, and it says, "Bummed as fuck with the Britt Andrews Kickstarter. We finally got a diary entry update, and I don't even want the books anymore." If we scroll a bit further down, someone said, "Wait, what's going on? I love Britt Andrews." To which BookNerd210 has replied saying, "She did a Kickstarter for a duet, and it's totally in shambles for the backers. Long story short, she had a goal of 5k and surpassed it to about 94k. Then crickets. Next thing we know, she's opening a restaurant, which can only be assumed our money funded that venture. Her update in January stated that we're still on track for summer fulfillment of boxes and orders, so this would have been summer last year. A few months later, personal issues leading to writer's block, and then the update last night, long-ass diary entry, and then until next time." Yeah, so that is also one big part of people's claims for the people who've backed the project. A lot of people claiming that very shortly after this Kickstarter was made and the money was raised, Britt actually went and opened a restaurant. A lot of people have took that as she is using the money from the Kickstarter to open this restaurant. Now, if we actually go over to the Kickstarter itself, there is a comment section, and the vast majority of these are pretty negative. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of people are just asking for refunds. Like this one from a day ago saying, "If you still have the money and it's in an account, then you lose absolutely nothing refunding the ones who want a refund. And it's not like we aren't justified. But instead you refuse to refund. You refuse to answer our questions. I'm absolutely disappointed. I was so excited for this and you ruined that. Now you have lost loyal supporters and videos are going viral. It's sad. If you would have made an actual update other than about your personal life, then maybe things would have been different. But as it stands, I want nothing to do with your work, your products, or your groups. I'm done with this. Hopefully the Ohio State General looks into this, considering many have reported you." There's also a lot of people asking questions about the specific thing that they backed, right? So there was different options, one of which was for this collaboration with a candle company. The candle company being called Brightside Candles, who have recently released a statement talking about all of this, and we will get to that, but we can see the comments here saying stuff like, "Britt, what will you be doing for those of us who paid $35 specifically for a Brightside candle, now that they have publicly come out and said they will not be working with you on this project ever?" A lot of people have also been asking questions about this whole Kickstarter exclusive thing, like this one here saying, "I'd like to highlight that we backed a Kickstarter exclusive, and this is part of the contract surely. And seeing as Britt has opened a job form for said Kickstarter, it is now not a Kickstarter exclusive anymore. So in that sense, can we hold her liable for the contract being broken? Nowhere did it mention that she would do this when I signed up. It was mentioned as a Kickstarter exclusive. So therefore, this is what I was paying for. The exclusive of it to Kickstarter. What was the point of the campaign when she opened it up in her Facebook group? She misrepresented a lot of things and sold us something that was a lie, as it clearly is not a Kickstarter exclusive." Right, now let's add some more context to a lot of these claims. So one TikToker in particular called Crystal Lee has uploaded quite a few videos talking about this. In the first video, she mentions this restaurant opening shortly after the money was raised.
But anyways, raised $90,000. Shortly after, opens a restaurant. Not suspicious, but where'd you get that money?
We also hear some more about people trying to dispute these payments with their banks. There's a comment that's actually shown in this video that says, "I thought I would add this so people can see. Britt, I also bought your hardcovers for Emerald Lakes, but I managed to get my money back through my credit card company, and you had the cheek to challenge it and try and get it back, and it's still pending to see if you will try again. I'm sure you will leave it to the last minute like last time, so the clock reset. So not only did you steal from your readers through this, you did it through Baventi too, and I reported you, and they were disgusted." We then hear some more about the whole Kickstarter exclusive thing, how the books can now actually be purchased, or the money can be raised for these books through a jot form.
Is that somehow, some way, is trying to get more funding. Not necessarily through Kickstarter, because once you launch that, the funding period closes. That's it. You can't reopen that same Kickstarter. You can relaunch, create a whole new one, but you can't do that one. And as of right now, I didn't find any other new Kickstarters under her name. But there is a jot form that is only accessible in her Facebook group. Whatever. She's trying to get more money. She has listings for Brightside Candles. They have since, as of this morning, posted a statement on their IG.
Oh yeah, so this is what we actually see, the statement for Brightside Candles. So obviously this was supposed to be a collaboration with the Kickstarter, also now on a jot form as well. So you can pay a certain amount and you would also get this candle, a collaboration between Britt and the candle company. Now this statement that Brightside Candles release says, "We have recently become aware that the Kickstarter campaign launched by Britt Andrews in 2023, which included the Brightside Candles as an add-on tier, has not been fulfilled. And like many of you, we were excited to support this project and look forward to contributing something special to the experience. However, we want to clarify a few important details. We were never provided product details, shipping lists, or compensation to begin production. No candles were ever made or delivered by us for this campaign. We, like many of you, pledged in good faith and hoped that this would be a positive collaboration. Now, this jot form is only available in Britt Andrews' Facebook group, I believe, which I think you have to kind of be accepted into. So I'm not sure if this tier is still available. I would assume not, because we're going to see a response from Britt Andrews, and she does mention this statement from Brightside Candles, so you would probably guess that it would have been taken off by now, but who knows. Now, speaking of the jot form, remember in the description of the Kickstarter it says, I've never offered any of my work in hardback, so this is really an exciting campaign. These exclusive editions are going to be absolutely beautiful with exclusive chapter headings and beautiful interior formatting. This Kickstarter will be the one and only place to get your hands on this cover. We're doing a one print run, that's it, gone forever. Now in Crystal's Lee's video, she shows the jot form and she shows that you can purchase these, the special edition hardback, which is $80. Now I believe the reason why people are bringing this up so heavily is because when we actually get to Britt Andrews' response, which we're about to talk about in just a second, she mentions like the terms and conditions of Kickstarter and whatnot, right? So a lot of people's response to that is that the Kickstarter exclusive claim in the description of the original Kickstarter isn't true. So, I mean, if we're going to be talking about terms, why don't we talk about that? And it's interesting because I recently actually watched a video by Mr. Who's the Boss, who's like a tech YouTuber, and he was reviewing like Kickstarter projects. And the amount of projects that he showed in that video that either just, well, first of all, didn't even arrive, or just didn't arrive how they were described and whatnot, just the amount of problems he had from Kickstarter. It seems like this is a very, very common thing on this website. And that's a problem, because the way it's set up, you're always taking a risk. There's no guarantee, as they say. Especially if there's no deadline, because what's stopping the person who's created the project saying like, oh, it is coming, the project's coming. Like, how long are they able to say that for before we're like, okay, is it really coming though? So in a lot of these cases, unless it's been mentioned otherwise, there is no deadline to be like, right, if it's not released at this deadline, I can get my refund. But either way, let's get to Britt Andrews' response. So it says, hi everyone, the update is only one day late, and given what the last couple of weeks have been like, I'm counting that as a win. I know I've been quiet for far too long, and that silence has caused confusion, frustration, and distrust. I understand that completely, and again, I take full ownership of that. I am here, I'm showing up, let's get into this. Over the past 18 months, I've been navigating a massive personal and emotional upheaval. Ending a marriage, rebuilding my home life, co-parenting, and keeping 2 businesses afloat while managing every single emotion under the sun, but largely burnout. Emotional and creative burnout. I convinced myself that anything short of perfection would make me a failure, so when I started falling behind, I isolated. I felt like I was failing not just faceless readers, human beings who supported me, who loved my work, who believed in this project so much that they came together to show me just how much, to the tune of $95,000. How do you tell 800 plus people week to week that there's nothing new to report? I've seen things people are saying, call me a piece of shit? Well, sorry, but there isn't a thing I've read that I haven't already told myself as this has gone on. And that was the problem. My internal monologue got so dark and twisted at times that I became my own worst enemy. That was my mistake. Not keeping you informed, even in the hard moments, was where I went wrong. But I want to make it very clear, this project has never been abandoned. I never stopped working on the book, and I have every intention of fulfilling what I promised. The book is still being written, it's evolving into something richer, deeper, and more emotionally honest than I originally imagined, but that growth took time. Physical rewards are still as planned and budgeted for. Production timelines will follow the final manuscript. Now at this point we hear Britt's response to Brightside Candles, and it says, Brightside Candles recently stepped away due to social media backlash, but cited not being aware that the book wasn't finished. I don't understand how that's even possible. All of that information has been clearly outlined and publicly available since the launch of this campaign. I'm disappointed that Ariba has backed out, and for those who did add on a candle, I'm exploring other options for that. Hopefully I'll have something more concrete in a couple of weeks for my next update. To rebuild trust and keep you fully informed, I'm still committed to bi-weekly updates. Short, clear posts every 2 weeks so no one is left guessing, and I'm working on revised delivery timelines with honest estimates and buffer room. I do want to add that if I ever, for whatever reason, for reasons I can't even fathom, decide that this project will not be completed, you will be the first to know and you will all be refunded. I'd like to put that narrative to rest now. I'm honestly tired and offended at the insinuation. Okay, so a couple of thoughts just on that part, like the whole refund thing. Like I said before, it's a tricky one because of the way that Kickstarter's ran. Like saying, oh, if I ever decide that the book cannot be fulfilled, you'll be the first to know. Without there being a deadline, what does that mean? Because in theory, I guess it could be another 5 years down the line and Britt could say, like, she's still working on the book. And I mean, already people have lost their patience. Can't imagine what they'd be like if that happened. But I really do believe if Britt wants to gain the trust back of people, she really needs to give like a deadline, and I think people would respect that and appreciate that, because even ignoring like the technicalities of the way that Kickstarter's ran and the fact that Britt technically doesn't have to issue refunds to people because she can say that the book is still being worked on, the problem with all of this for Britt is that she really is losing the trust of people who supported her, which I mean can only have negative impacts when it comes to releasing a book again if she decides to do so. I don't know if like she mainly wants to focus on the restaurant side of things now, who knows? But I think it's became very clear from people's reactions here that she has lost the trust of a lot of people who did back her. Also, I will say when she says like you'll be the first to know and you'll be refunded, I'd like to put that narrative to rest right now. I'm honestly tired and offended at the insinuation. I'm not sure, because like you can see why people would maybe believe that if they've been requesting refunds and asking what the refund policy is going to be on this like project, and they're receiving no replies, and when people have tried to getting refunds, they've been denied or they've been fought with the banks. I mean, surely you can see why people would think that Brit doesn't want to give refunds to people, right? I think the biggest problem with all of this has just been a lack of communication. I mean, there have been 20 updates on the Kickstarter page since this was made. What, like a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years ago? And looking through them, a lot of the updates are kind of the same thing, you know, like kind of just saying like, still working on the book, it's still coming, it's a bit delayed, it's going to be out here, okay, it hasn't been out here, it's delayed now. So you can see why people would be concerned just due to a lack of communication. I think if the communication was better throughout and people were really kept up to date and their concerns were actually being addressed, it might not even be the answer that they're after, right? But even just a conversation about their concerns, I don't think it would have caused this much of a problem. Now, obviously, as we read in the update, it sounds like Brit is going through some personal stuff, which is horrible, right? You don't want anyone to go through stuff like that. Even looking at the comments on this update, for the most part, it doesn't seem to be people being overly like mean or anything like that. It is just kind of people asking for refunds. I'm sure there is people that have took it too far, because we've seen it before with situations where people do take it too far. Obviously that is never okay, but I think you do have to understand that there are obviously going to be people that are frustrated with how long this project has took, with the lack of communication, the fact that people have spent their money on this. And again, with the way that Kickstarter works, like they say, there's no guarantee, right? So I guess on a technicality level, Brit doesn't owe anyone refunds, right? Unless there's something I'm missing here. But from a moral standpoint, it really does feel like people's concerns should be addressed, because they've put their hard-earned money into this. Obviously, they're not receiving anything for it, as of right now. And when I say that technically Brit doesn't owe people refunds, I do mean just in the way that Kickstarter is ran. That's not me saying that people shouldn't be getting refunds and people asking for refunds are wrong or anything like that. I'm not surprised that people are wanting refunds, and in fact, if this was me, I would also be wanting a refund. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be having questions as to where that $95,000 is, right? Because clearly, a lot of people assume that that $95,000 has been used to open this restaurant. Now, Brit, I believe, denies this. Of course, we have no idea. It might still be put somewhere in like a different account and hasn't been touched. Who knows? But if for whatever reason that money has been used, obviously refunds are going to be pretty difficult, because $95,000 is not a low amount of money. Now, not everyone will be wanting refunds, but it does seem like a lot of people do, and I believe it would be into the thousands. So you can see maybe why Brit isn't exactly rushing to give refunds, especially if that money has been used. Since it does seem like refunds aren't going to be given, I really do hope that the book releases. I can only imagine that the response to the book being released might not be anywhere near as good as what it probably would have been originally. A lot of people in the comments of the Kickstarter are saying like they don't even want the book anymore, so I think a lot of people would still be disappointed even if the book is released at this point. But I guess we'll see how the updates go, and I mean, this is not the first Kickstarter by any means that has had a situation like this. It really does feel like there's a lot of situations that come out of Kickstarter like this, and I feel like if you are going to be backing someone on Kickstarter, well, I was going to say, like, if you are going to be backing someone on Kickstarter, you want to make sure that it's someone that you feel like you can trust and you've, like, seen their work previously. But in this case, they did, right? A lot of people really liked Brit's book, so they expected this good service, I guess, or at least updates. So you can probably see why it would be even more frustrating for a lot of people that have backed this project, because it's not just, like, a random tech company that have came out with something that you think looks cool, and you're like, I wouldn't mind having that if it actually becomes a thing. Like, it's an actual person whose work people have really appreciated, their work that they've poured all their emotions into and clearly created stuff that people absolutely love. We saw the reviews on the books. So I think with that in mind, that is also a big reason why people are so frustrated about this situation in particular. Either way, I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below on everything that we spoke about in today's video. Obviously, it was quite a lot of details that we went through today, but like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. If you did enjoy the video, please do leave a like on it, subscribe if you are new. Also, if you're interested in some other content, me and Emily have a channel where we play games, we react to reality shows, just have fun on there. So if that's something that interests you, that's always linked in the description. And until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Alright, goodbye.